Hi guys! Today we are going to be making the Lola bag by Swoon with a few modifications. I love this bag pattern. It fits surprisingly lots. It is domed. We do bag feet. It's got handles. It's got an inner zipper pocket. Yeah, so if you'd like to see how this is made, stay tuned. Okay, so I am going to start with the bag feet. So I've got 4 bag feet here. And I just need put all my stuff away. Hold on. Alright. So I do my bag feet 2 inches from the edge. Everybody puts them in different spots. This is just what I like to do. And then 2 inches in. So I mark out where I'm going to put them. You can see that. That's just a normal red pen, nothing exciting. And then to cut the holes, I actually use a Kaiser Craft. Oh, you can't really see that because I've rubbed it off. But it's Kaiser Craft. It's from the scrapbooking section, so it's just a cutting knife, really. And then I always cut the holes in different angles as well, because you don't want the bag feet to come out. If I don't do this first, I always tend to forget, and then it's really hard to do later when you've sewn it all together. So I just do it right at the start. Make it the first step, you can't forget them then. Now on the back of this here is a backing called Heavy Backing. That's actually what it's called, from Spotlight. It's about $10 something a meter. It's gone up recently. But what it does is it gives it firmness and shape. It's almost like cardboard. But it's iron-on, so that's super handy. Open all the bag feet. Perfect. So they're now on. I can put that aside. So I'm going to start with my zippered pocket because I just feel like it. If you've just put a new bobbin in, you might want to start with your straps so that you don't have any joins in your straps. So I just measured 3/4 of an inch from each side. Oh, you can't really see that, hold on. So 3/4 of an inch from the side and 1/2 inch from the top because I folded it in half. And then that's a 3/8 gap in there, 3/8 of an inch. You just rule it up with your ruler. I have seen online that you can buy stencils, so you can just stick the stencil over it and trace. I might get one, I might not, we'll see. So then you put your pocket in the center, right sides together. Now this is interfaced with Birch heavy non-woven iron-on interfacing. Bit of a mouthful, but that's okay. Okay, so I'm going to start in a corner and I'm just going to do a couple stitches forwards and back just to lock it all in. I always do the short edge first. I don't know why, I just do. It's my thing. Just want to stitch the box. Try not to go past your stitches in the corners because it won't turn as nicely. If you do run past it, just back and forth a little bit and then you can unpick that stitch when you finish stitching. So I'm going to fold it in half, make a snip, and then cut in the center of the bit we've just sewn and then triangle out the corners. Some people rule this and draw it on there and then follow it. You can do that. I don't, because in the middle is in the middle. So long as you've got a decent little triangle going on in the corner, you'll be fine. Now you want to get as close as you can without snipping it. So we've now got that little triangle bit. So when we turn that inside out, the corners press out really nicely. Now I'm just going to finger press this. So you fold over your seam and then I run my fingernail along it. Makes it nice and crisp. You can also iron it. Like that. So now you have a hole. Now I'm going to grab my piece of zipper that I've cut to the size. So this particular piece is 7.5 inches. And I'm going to put my zipper head on. So you just split your zip. And then I've got a fork that holds the zipper head. And then you can just thread it through. So my zipper's now on. Now I always like my zips to open from left to right. So that's how I set them up. Make sure that your flap is out of the way. So if you stitch it down, you're going to have to unpick it all. And then again, I'm just with a 2.5 stitch length. I believe that stands for mils, but don't quote me on that because I'm not 100%. Get your tail out of the way. Alright, and then you just want to stitch nice and close to your zip. Making sure that you're going to catch it underneath, not stitch over the zipper teeth, and get it all nice and straight. Again, I start in a corner, the short side. Move the zipper out of the way as you stitch the end, a couple of back stitches. Snip off all your tails so they're not in the way. So then we're going to stitch the pocket down the sides. So you just fold the, oops, just lost my thread then. So because we folded it in half, it should naturally fall where it needs to stitch it shut. But we don't want to do the bottom because that's where we're going to turn the bag. So you just want to do the two long sides. The whirring in the background, by the way, is actually my machine. It's industrial, but it's got a rotary motor. So it purrs. I'm kind of okay with it though. Okay. So now we've stitched this side and this side. And if we open this zipper pocket, you can still get your hand at the bottom, which I promise will be handy later. Okay, so then we're going to sit that aside and we're going to grab our front straps. So I cut mine 8.5 inches long, but depending on where you want your straps to sit will be dependent on where you cut them. So we're going to grab our handy dandy texter or pen again and then rule down the center of these. So you can change the dimensions of this in comparison to what hardware you're going to do. So if you do 3/4 inch hardware, you're going to need skinnier pieces. These are for 1 inch hardware, so I've made them double that, which is 2 inches wide. Get my sticky tape. Stick them all together like a big long train. Okay, so that's just double-sided sticky tape I got from the reject shop. Spotlight sell double-sided tape in the scrapbooking section, and you can even get it from Woolworths in the stationery section. For what we need it for, it's all much of a muchness. So now I'm going to fold the two sides into the line that I drew. You want to get this as even as possible because the join is our guide for sewing in a second. Alright, so you can't really see that, but there is actually a join in between there, and that's going to be our guide. But I'm going to sticker all of them. If you can hear noises in the background, it's just my dogs. They're sitting over to the side. Two. This is actually a really nice vinyl I got from a guy who was shutting up shop. He had an upholstery shop. It's a really nice red. Should be one of the nicest reds I've found. Which is lucky because I got like 10 meters of it. So for the next few months, any red video I do, it will be the same vinyl. And unfortunately, I can't tell you where to get it from because I don't know. All right. Lucky last one. So if I was making an all vinyl bag where the outside was vinyl, I wouldn't do this kind of attachment. I would do a different one, which I will do a video for when I have another one cut out. I did a dragon bag recently, but I wanted to be able to see the dragon scale vinyl, so I did it this way. But normally on vinyl bags, I would do a slit and have them almost invisible. Okay, so now I'm going to crank my stitch length up to 3 3/4, and I'm going to stitch. I'm going to put my foot in the center line where the join is and stitch each side of the strap. So my foot's about 1/8 of an inch or where I'm stitching to. So I'm going to do that to all 4 straps. You don't have to do this step, but I like how it looks. It's quite decorative. It also gives a little bit of extra stability to your handle. Because if you don't use rivets, you want to make sure it's not going to come apart at all. I like chainsawing these. It means less long ends. Okay, so now I'm using 1-inch gold hardware. These are bigger, thicker hoops than my other ones for silver, but they're gonna look awesome, so we're just gonna do those. So I measure on my table, I measure 1 inch down and then fold it over. Sometimes I have to readjust this. Most of the time it goes all right. And for everyone who's interested in my bowl, I got them made from a guy. So if you're interested in one, message me and I'll see if I can get more of him. He has a 3D printer, so he prints them for me. I actually have them in 3 different colors, so they all hold different stuff for sewing. I've got 3. So these are my clips. These are a different type of clip, and then the purple ones are my tags. I just think they look cool. They make me happy. It's all about the little things. Oh, also, when I'm doing this, I'm actually putting, where the join is, goes, I always put that under here so that you don't see it on the bag. Not that you should see it anyway when you put your strap on, but I just like to have it all unified and hidden, so. Alright. I put 2 clips because sometimes they come apart with one. It's not cool. Okay, so we're going to grab our front or our back, our outside piece, and we're going to measure where we're going to put our straps. Now, For anything that's light coloured, I use an air erasable texture. And then for anything that's dark, I use this. It's a Birch chalk wheel. Oh, hold on, you can't really see that. So those little spikes roll along and distribute chalk dust, which is easily removable, but also easy to see. So I'm going to make my straps. Because the pattern doesn't come with straps, you can put them anywhere you want. But I measure 2.5 inches from this little bit here. So I go 2.5 inches in, and I make them go 7 inches up. But depending on your straps, you might want to move that around. And it also depends on what design you've got in the middle. If it's a bigger design and you don't want to hide it, you make your straps go further out so that you can see it better. But I'm doing 2.5 by 7 today. I also measure the top just to make sure that I get it in the right spot. And then if you decide it covers too much of your design, you can always rub it out and reposition it again. 7, 2.5. Up and over. These chalk wheels actually come in 3 colours. So white, red and blue, I believe. When this one runs out, I might get a red one. Okay. So now that I've marked those, we want to line it up. So I always use this folded edge to go along the top of the mark that I've made and then run it down the side. I can actually fold this over a little bit more because mine are longer than I remember cutting, which is fine. Line that up. So we're on 3 3/4 stitch length again. Now I always back stitch at the start because you want to lock it in place. And then we're just going to slowly stitch about 1/8 of an inch from the edge up. And then turn 90 degrees, stitch over, lock them in, and then because these rings are so big, I can't actually turn my foot around and go the other way. It makes the stitches crooked. So I chop it off and then come back to the bottom and then stitch up, oops, to the stitches I just did. It takes a little bit longer than trying to turn it, but it looks much neater. So if you've got a machine where you struggle to get around your hardware, this is the great solution to it. Back stitch, move the tail out of the way. Alright. And I just do 2 back stitches there. And you can't tell that I stopped and started several times. So it makes it super neat, nice and straight. So we're just going to do that to all 4 pieces. Grab another one. The reason I do the line across the top part is so that you can line this up. That way you're guaranteed that they're all going to be the same size. If you've got extra hanging off the bottom, that actually doesn't matter because we can chop it off later. But if you put your straps on crooked, if it's not a deliberate design, it's going to look terrible. One more. Turn 90 degrees. So basically I stitch up to the metal hardware until my foot pretty much hits it, and then I turn the 90 degrees. So it's going to fit beside the hardware without pushing out of the way and making my straps look crooked and sloppy. I think I'm nearly out of bobbin thread. Oh no, I'm alright. This was only half full when I started, so I have anticipated that this will empty. I've got another one ready. but you don't want to run out of bobbin thread upon top stitching. So if you start with a fresh bobbin, I actually suggest you start with your straps. Your shoulder shoulder straps. Okay, so that's one side done. Don't be afraid to slow down when you get close to the strapping. There's no hurry. You'll kick yourself if you go too fast and wreck it. One more. Because this is the focus of the bag, this is the bit you want to take great care with. Lose that thread again. Alright. Oh, and I just ran out of bobbin thread. Damn it. Okay, so I am actually going to unpick that because I don't want to join halfway up. That won't look cool at all. So, a fun little trick with unpicking is if you clip every third stitch from the back, like so, you can just pull the top one and it pulls it all out. So you don't have to individually cut all of it, which is much quicker. All right. So now that I've changed bobbins, I'm going to do my straps after I tidy this up. So any excess you've got laying down the bottom, you just trim it off. So I've only got like a little bit there. There we go. Perfect. So all straps, all shoulder straps on my bags are 24 inches. Unless somebody requests a custom one with shorter or longer. 24 inches is actually just the length of my other ruler. That's why I do it that length. But lots of patterns say anything between 18 and 24 is fine for shoulder strap, just depending on how long you want it, I guess, and how high you want it to sit on your shoulder. So again, I've just marked the center of both of these. Then I'm going to put a double-sided tape on the center of that line. If you're making all fabric handles, you could just iron it instead of having to do this. But if you're doing all fabric handles, I recommend you're putting interfacing onto your straps. So I would use the Birch Heavy non-woven iron-on interfacing. Such a mouthful. I should name it something cooler. There we go. So I always like to start at the edge, and I get to about 3/4, and then I go back to the other side so that your edges are exactly even. Like that. Twist it around, go again. Some people have this magic ability to do both sides at the same time. I am not that person. So I go all the way down one and then come back and go all the way down the other side. Alright, so up to well, actually we should still be on the same longer stitch length. Now I always do the short edge first, so I'm going to stitch down here and then close it. The end I find just holds it for me. Fluffy end. The reason I have to keep threading my machine is because I never leave a long enough tail and it keeps unthreading itself. So I do three holes, 2 hand crank stitches, and then I go back through the first hole. And that's the same as doing a back stitch, but it looks a bit neater on a vinyl strap handle. And then I'm just going to go along and line it up for a little bit and then stitch it and then stop and go and stop and go. You can actually clip this with Wonder Clips. And I'm doing about 1/8 of an inch from the edge, which to me is just the middle of my foot. The folded side always goes a bit quicker because you're not trying to line anything up. It can only go where it can go. So I snip this off as close as I can. And then I get my lighter and just melt the last little bit. That's one strap done. So we're going to do the same thing to this strap. So if you live in Melbourne, I get my vinyl from a place called Pascal. They have outlets. I don't know if they serve to just normal people, but I've got an ABN, so I have a trade account. If you're in Townsville, there's a place called Sewing Trade next to Fantastic Furniture. They sell it by the 1/2 meter, which is awesome, and they always have a lot of colours, and they can order in the colours they don't have. Otherwise, there's plenty of online places that sell like fun textured stuff. Spotlight has some vinyl. They've got like 6 colors. Or they've got, actually no, they just got textured fake animal print vinyl. But it's really short. It's only 24 inches. So it is the length of a strap. So you'd have to buy meterage in the other direction. But it comes in quite a few colors that are quite pretty. They've got black and brown fake snake. I think they've got like an ostrich or a crocodile or something. And I think it's only about, I want to say $20 a meter, maybe 15, but it is shorter. Okay. So again, chop it off as close as you can. I think I need new snips, I have blunt. And then melt the last little bit. Because it is so small, you can touch it, doesn't burn my fingers. Alright, so that is the straps done. So now we're going to go back and grab a lining piece. We're going to put our stitch length back to 2.5. We're going to line up our zip. So you can do this two ways. You can either baste this on right at the edge of the zip and then come back. Or, like me, you can wonder clip it on. But I clip it onto the lining and then I come back and I put the outside piece on top, because to clip all three I find quite fiddly, whereas that was much quicker. Then we just take this. I always make sure these are flipped down just so that they're not going to be in the way. And then it should all just line up, so you can just grab the clips and open them, because we've already got the curve done for the zip. So this for me should be about 1/4 of an inch, but basically I'm putting the edge of my foot up against the zipper. Back stitch at the end. And then this is the tricky part for some. So you want to open it up, but you only want to pull your top, and then we're going to top stitch that seam. But it is a curve, so you might find it's a little bit tricky. So you want to make sure you back stitch and seal it in, and then you just want to pull it out and stitch along. That's one side. So that way what happens is, because we pulled it back, there's no top stitch on this side, but you do get a top stitch this side. So when we go to close the sides up later, it doesn't pucker in the corners, because nobody likes a good pucker. Alright, so then again we're going to line up our zip. You'll notice that this time I'm going the opposite way, because I know the edge of this zip lined up with the edge of the fabric. Oops. Because my zip I cut just a little bit long, which is fine, I can trim it off at the end. Now, you can either, there's two ways to do this. You can either just line your edge up with your edge, or these straps have to match. So you can literally just put them on top of each other, and then that is the center. They're going to match if you've got them lined up. Another way to line it up would be to put a notch in the center of your bag, outer, lining and zip, and then line all three up. But that is just a little bit more work than I think needs to be happening, so I don't do it. Alright, we back stitch again. So we're going to open it up and just top stitch the side. This is the hardest one because you've got the bag all there. You can separate your zip. You might find it a bit easier, but then you've got to line your zip up again later. So the trick is to lift it up, because it's a 3D object, because it's a curve. If you lift the part up, so if you lift this up when you're sewing it, it becomes, you just push it through like that, and I find it a lot easier. Okay, so now we're going to put our zip on. So I want my zipper pull to go the same way as this. So I need to go from this side to that side, So this is the side I want to put the zip on. So you just crack it open, and I put my zipper head in my glorious fork, and then just thread it through. Okay, so I don't want to zip it all the way to the edge because I want to make sure that this stays sealed. So I'm going to zip it up to just past that, and then I'm going to open it to the other one. So now I can get into the bag, but it's not so open on the edges that it's going to pop and sit funny. All right, and we're going to put right sides together. You want to line up the bottom, one in the middle, and then with the zip, you want to put your finger into the lining and push the zip so the teeth are towards the outer, and then clip it. And then you want to line up that one. That's one side clipped. I'm going to clip both sides at the same time, and then I can just quickly zip down each side. So I only need probably 3 clips on each part. And then on this side, I'm going to put one of my tags. So you just pop it in there, clip it down. I use 2 clips because otherwise I find it goes crooked. All right, so I'm going to start from the foam side, and I'm going to stitch down on an angle over the zip and then back out. So I'm going to do that to both sides. You can do a couple of back stitches over that because that is a stress point on the bag. Alright. And then the other side, from the foam side, so then we're going to grab our lining base and we're going to line it up with one of the sides. It doesn't matter which one. So then we're going to sew the seam allowance, but I'm just going to do a little bit this side and then leave a gap and then come back and sew the other side. So this is going to be where we turn most of the bag. And I always do this one first so I don't forget it. And then we're going to just sew the whole side of the other base. Okay. Yep. So then I put my fingers in here and kind of push it together, line up that. I'm going to actually open out that seam so it sits flat like that. Put a clip there. Again, you probably only need 3 clips. You don't really need more. So we're going to push it down, open out the seam so it sits flat. And 3 clips. So then we're just going to stitch that down. Alrighty. And the other side. Alright. So that's now all the lining done. Now we're going to put our base in. Look at our bag feet. Put right sides together. Line it up. Couple of clips, never hurt anybody. Now this side, the base on the outside, you stitch all along both edges. Don't know how I threw those clips away. Because this is a lot firmer, I do actually like to use clips on this side. Get my loose bits off. Now I'm just going to put little nicks in the sides so it's going to move easier for me. And then we're going to do the same thing. So we're going to get to the middle, flip it down, and then one each side. Or maybe two actually. This is quite a stiff vinyl, so I'm going to do two. Just to hold it all in place, and then same on the other side. So we're going to pinch it in the center. If you can't eyeball the center, at the very start, when you put all your lines on for your feet, you can also draw a center line, or alternatively clip it at the center with just like a tiny little nick so that you can see it later on. Alright, last two little bits, and then we can turn the bag out. Always backstitch. Backstitching is your friend. Alright. Reach your hand to the base hole that we left, and I always like to grab a corner, or in this case an edge, and I'm going to push that in, pinch it like it's a sock puppet, and then pull it through. You don't want to do it too hard, you don't want to rip your lining, but you do just need to be a little bit forceful because you obviously want to get it through. This vinyl is very stiff. You just ease it out. And I just kind of pull that and then roll that over. So all the bag's now through the hole, so then we just have to pull it back out. Okay, put your hand in. I always just push it down flat on the table, like so. Gets all the corners out. Awesome. So now we just have to stitch the hole we just stuck it through. So you're going to go into your zipper pocket and then grab these two bits like that and then pull them out through your zipper pocket. So you're almost kind of turning your bag inside out again, but just the lining. Then you're going to get it all nice and straight. If you're struggling, you can definitely clip this. Otherwise, we're just going to sew the seam allowance all the way across. Back stitch. And then shove that back in the bag. And then close your zipper. So the easiest way for this is I put my fingers and pinch it under, pull tight, and then grip it, not clip it, grip it. You can iron this down if you want to. Or you can do what I do and just slowly make sure it's all lined up and stitch as close to the edge as you can. Alright, so that, you push your lining in, zip up your pocket. So there's the bag. Now we just have to attach the handles. Grab my rivet press and a pen and some rivets. Alright. So I measure the holes because I like them to all look even. So I go 1/2 inch from the edge. And then I do one, for these particular metal rings, because they're thicker, I'm going to do 1 1/4 inches from the other hole. So you measure 1/2 inch and then 1 1/4. I normally just do 1 inch for my other rings, but these ones are thicker. So go 1/2, 1 1/4. Now my hole punch is just from Bunnings. I think they're $18. It's nothing fancy. It's got multiple holes. I only ever use the small one. So you're going to punch all the holes individually. This also helps to make sure that they're center. If your hole punch starts dying, you just twist it around as you're cutting and it'll make sure it cuts all the way through. Mine's done pretty well. It's lasted well over a year. They do also sell them at Spotlight. I think they're just a little bit more money, but they're all basically the same. If you've got one of these presses, I'm pretty sure you can get a hole punch die set that you can put in as well. Okay, so all stitching has a right and a wrong side. So we want to put, I'm going to put it, so this is the wrong side facing up in the hoop and then over, so that when we hold the bag, the join will be on the inside and you won't see it. Put the 2 sides in, put the cap on the rivet, push it till it clicks, that way it won't move on you, and then in your rivet press and push down. So then you want to make sure that this is straight, angle it up, you want to go up and in, put your rivets in. And push. In there. So that you want to use double capped rivets. I use, I think it's 9 by 8 mil. You can get all different sizes though. So if you're going to make leather bags, like all leather, and you're going to do thick handles, you're going to get a longer post. They come in some crazy long lengths. So if you're going to rivet a whole bunch of stuff together that's quite thick, you buy longer posts, and that way it'll still hold everything for you. Okay, so there you go. It's got bag feet. You hear it when you put it down, it sits on the feet because of the interfacing. So there you go, one bag. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial and stay tuned for the next one.